Previously, in the last episode of the Challenger to the Rank 1 series, we are now at 710 LP. So then I queued up for the first game of the day, in which we are playing Riven against a Camille. So today's video is going to be a very special one, because we're not just going to be talking about the gameplay and explaining the entire game, but I'm also going to be going over about my top 5 tips on how you can carry games as Riven. So with that being said, let's move on with the first tip. My first very big advice that I got for you is to avoid your lane against very hard matchups or against matchups in which you are playing against tanks. So for example, if you are playing against tanks, you cannot really beat them in lane. So the only thing that you can do is to push in the lane and then try to roam to other lanes, so you can either dive the enemy under the tower, or perhaps maybe get an objective, or perhaps even get a dragon, but at least try to be useful for your teammates so you can push them ahead into the game so that they can carry the game for you instead of you having to deal with the tanks in the lane. It's very hard for Riven to snowball against matchups which are very tough, or if you play against a tank. So why would you spend all that time trying to kill them or to snowball them if you can simply just roam to other lanes and get your teammates ahead? The second tip that I got for you is to try and get the teleport advantage. This is something not just about Riven in specific, but more something about top lane in general. You always want to look into creating a situation in which the top laner is being forced to teleport back to lane. Once you can make that happen, once you get that teleport advantage over the enemy top laner, you want to look into outnumbering the enemy team in the bot lane, or at least outnumber them somewhere on the map so that you can win that team fight very hard. Top lane is not just only about winning the lane itself, but just creating a situation in which you can get that teleport advantage will most of the time win you a lot of games. Tip number 3 is also a very important one, as pretty much 99% of the entire League community forgets about this, and this is to keep your flash for the upcoming next teamfight. Riven truly excels at using her flash for teamfights, because you can use that flash in order to jump on the enemy backline and completely one-shot that. Unfortunately, people in League make a lot of mistakes, and people often use their flash as soon as they make a mistake. And that's one of the worst things that you can do in League by far, because flash is what really carries you most of the team fights. So the best way to avoid this kind of stuff is to stop making, or at least try to make less mistakes in the game, so you are not being, or you at least you don't have to use your flash anymore. Obviously, sometimes you might still want to use your flash to save yourself if you have a really massive gold penalty on your head. But outside of that, I'd recommend you to keep your flash most of the time so that you can carry the next upcoming team fight and possibly get objectives or even win the game. Tip number 4 is also a very strange one, but in my opinion, this one is by far a very important one and also very underestimated by the community, and that's to play 1 or 2 Riven skins only. Dedicating yourself to only 1 or 2 Riven skins only will allow you to get better at the champion itself, because many people have that problem once they start playing a different skin, that they will have worse combos because they aren't so used to the animations and they aren't really used to the sound and all of that stuff either. So I recommend you just stick to 1 skin only so that you can actually get better at the champion with doing the combos and stuff, because that's something super important about Riven. Tip number 5 is also a very strange one, as this is something that the entire community has got problems with, and the one thing I'm talking about is staying at a 100% tryhard. In case you guys have no idea of what I'm talking about, I'm basically talking about autopilot. As soon as people have a lot of wins in a row, or perhaps maybe you have like a lot of losses in a row, people often go into autopilot, and that basically means looking less at the minimap, watching the minimap a lot less than you normally do, or you're focusing a lot more on different aspects of the game that actually makes you lose that game. You want to go back into that full tryhard, watching the minimap at all times. Even when you're doing a team fight, you might want to take a look at the minimap. Also, there's so many different aspects of the game that you gotta focus on, so keep your head in the game at all times. I know this is something super difficult to do, especially if you've got like a lot of losers in a row or the game isn't going that well, but try to keep yourself into this state that you will never stop watching the minimap and that you will keep on going and keep your head focused on the game so that you can stay on top level throughout the entire game. Now, with all the 5 tips being covered, going back to the gameplay itself, this was an amazing game as we were playing against an Urgot, and throughout this entire game I've actually been using the tip number 1 a lot. I was focusing around getting the kills out of other lanes. I was trying to roam and teleport as much as I could so I could push my team ahead this game. And it seems to have worked out pretty good because after getting all these kills on other lanes, my teammates got extremely fed and extremely strong this game. Also, thanks to a very secret of mine, like setting up the lane for ganks, we've managed to get like a lot of kills on the Urgot as well, thanks to my jungler being like amazing this game. And this is pretty much how we got the Baron and how we got such an easy win on this game. So right after we won this amazing game, we are now at 701 LP in Challenger. Moving on to the next game, which is game number 4, we are playing Riven against a Gangplank. The game has started kind of rough for me as this Gangplank had actually very insanely aggressive runes as his setup for Gangplank, and I did not respect that at all, so I kinda got caught here by the Gangplank in which he was going all in on me, and I didn't respect him here either because I was flashing too late. I thought, you know, it's okay, I can take that, but no, I couldn't. Technically, everything was still okay because Riven will outskill Gangplank at some point, but that was not the way how I won this lane. Actually, Zac was ganking my lane right here, and the Gangplank didn't have any vision because he just came back from the base, so we just got a really free kill here by this amazing gank from the Zac. Unfortunately, at the end of the laning phase, we still lost pretty hard because the enemy Eve was ganking my lane a lot. But it's still okay because even after all of those deaths, we were actually going to lose this game until this happened, where the entire enemy team is grouping around mid lane and Zac had an amazing jump off the enemy team, and I've also had an amazing flash combo off the enemy team as well. So we just get an instant triple kill, and now we're completely back in this game. The enemy team was making a lot of mistakes, which in return gave us a lot of kills this game, and once again here the enemy support was out of place, so the Zac just jumped into this guy. I've also flanked this guy from behind, so we just got a free kill on that brand. And at the same time, this Gangplank was making the mistake as well to be here around the bot lane under the tower, so we got that kill too. Unfortunately, my team makes mistake as well, and like everyone is kind of dying, but regardless, we're getting a lot of kills this game, and this definitely brings us back into the game. There's so many kills that I've got this game, which I'm still surprised about how it even worked in the first place. That they didn't even have any kind of wards to see me waiting there, or even expecting me to be there at all. It was kind of strange. I've got so many kills which I was simply not supposed to get, which got us somewhere in the game. I was actually insanely fat, and we've got so far, but yeah, the enemy jungler was just so fat that he could still kill me in like half a second. So regardless of the game so well, despite doing so well this game and getting so far together with that Zac, we were still unable to win this game. We were still stuck at the base, and there was completely nothing we could do. They still had all the towers. They had the entire map for their own, and regardless of how well the team fight would be, we would never kill all of them, and it would still not go well. So at the end of this game, we still lost this game pretty hard, and there was just nothing we could do regardless of how fed we were. So right after we lost this game, we are now at 688 LP in Challenger. Unlike for us, we cannot win every single game. Anyway, if you guys want to see the full games live as well as everything that you've seen so far, do not forget to check out my stream, because literally everything that you're watching right now is being played live on stream. So with that being said, guys, Thank you so much for watching today's episode, watching today's video. If you got any kind of questions, do not forget to join my Discord server because I am always there. Also, you can ask your question in the comment section down as well. You might actually get an answer from me. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll catch you guys up in the next upcoming episode, in the next upcoming video, as well as the next upcoming stream, man. Peace.